year long. The Nationals have made their moves, highly debated. We find out down the road if Adam Eaton is the answer, what the pitchers they gave up to Chicago, and we will see. So the Nationals get put aside for a second. We find out who their closer is. The Mets, on the other hand, are a team that did the one thing they had to do so far this offseason. That was bring back Cespedes. That was very, very significant for their fan base, who was annoyed that they were, seemed like pinching pennies, and you can't do that in New York. And two, Cespedes is so important to the Met ball club that he had to be retained here in left field for the foreseeable future. And the Mets got that done before the winter meeting, so we give them all the credit in the world. Now the Mets' problem is, well, what are we going to do here? Because Cespedes is a left fielder, not a center fielder, and the Mets need to find themselves a scenario where they can figure out a way to fit 4 outfielders into 3 without one of them being a center fielder. Cespedes tried center field last year. That didn't work out. He gets hurt a lot. He doesn't want to play in it. He's a little bit of a diva to begin with. You're going to have to say, all right, Mr. Cespedes, you're staying left. You play 140 games, and we'll get the most we can out of you. So that leaves the Mets with Jay Bruce and Granderson and Lagares and Conforto, a guy they need to play. 4 guys for a couple of spots. And, maybe one of them can double up occasionally at first base with Duda, with back issues and all that. But the Mets have some major problems right now to see what they can get themselves organized. Now, listen, they ever entice Pittsburgh with McCutchen and trade a couple of spare outfielder and a couple of young pitchers, Gelsman, the 2 guys they have to pitch very well last year for them, and not give up one of those top 4 or 5 guys, they'd make that trade in a second, where the Pittsburgh would remains to be seen. But before the Mets can do that, they can't add a lot of payroll, because the Mets got to keep the payroll there at $135 million or thereabouts, and that bothers the Met fan. You hear the Nationals talk about payroll. The Met fan doesn't want to hear, well, you know what, 135 is what we can handle. It's New York City. But that, of course, now is the issue for Sandy Alderson, how to keep the payroll about 135, find a taker for Jay Bruce and Granderson without giving that team all the money as far as the contract is concerned, and then opening a spot to bring McCutchen in to play center field. That is a lot on the Mets' plate right now in early or late December or early January, when Trumbo hasn't signed, when Encarnacion has not signed, when Batista has not signed. We still have a lot of outfielders right now. So how in the world is anybody going to be interested in Bruce and his $13 million for 1 year, or Granderson and his $15 million for 1 year, when you have all these other guys you can go out there and shop and dangle with first? Makes it a very tricky situation. But it is movement, and it is interesting that McCutchen is at least being discussed, or they had some preliminary discussions with the Pirates on McCutchen, and he would fit. He's a very good center fielder. He loves New York. Yeah, the Met fan will get a kick out of him. He's signed for 2 more years at $14.5 million. The Met window right now is about a 2-year period because of the young pitchers. Who knows what's going to happen with free agency with Arby and folks like that. So that is the Met window, 2 to 3 years with this current crew, and he would be perfect. But again, the Mets are going to have to give up some people. They might have to give up a Zach Wheeler down the road. I don't know if the Mets want to do that. And they're going to have to find takers for, obviously either Bruce or Granderson. And you're going to find the bats for Conforto. And Conforto, he could play center field. I think he played 4 or 5 games last year in center field for the Mets. But you don't want to do that to him, because this is a kid who had a very bad sophomore year. He didn't hit it after April. And you don't want to get him to Port St. Lucie and say, oh, Mike, not only do you have to hit left-hand pitching and hit it well, go out there and learn center field. I mean, you don't want to do that to the kid. You want to put him in a corner outfield spot, leave him alone, and then play him 140 games, rest him against the occasional tough lefty, and maybe once in a while he gets spotted first base. So unfortunately, he would do to both hit left-handed. Bottom line is, the Mets have a lot of issues for a team that a lot of people think could be very, very good in 2016. It's going to be a preseason favorite to be in a postseason spot, and you're going to see some predictions, maybe even in this room, as far as the Mets in the World Series. Because with Harvey and with Syndergaard and DeGrom and Nats and Wheeler, they got pitching this team. They could get rid of Cologne. They got starting pitching. Not worried about the bullpen. Bullpen isn't great, but Reed's out there. He will be if they have. So I don't think he's a free agent. Bush can solidify. You still have Familia. Now he's going to be suspended most likely, but you still got him sitting out there too. You can figure out the bullpen. It's the scenario of center and right with 4 guys. That is the tricky scenario. And Lagares has got a contract, by the way, about $5 million a year, so you can't get rid of him. And it's a long-term deal. That's a major issue for the Mets. How are they going to solve this? And they can't solve it on December 20th. got the Nationals sitting there, and the Nationals are a ball club that, if nothing else, have solved the shortstop center field situation and the leadoff spot and getting Turner to his proper case by putting Eaton in center, and then they can move Turner to shortstop. Say what you want about that trade, and they had to trade Espinosa because he was a North, I understand that. And obviously they traded a lot of the young people. A lot of people in D.C. are flabbergasted that Mike Rizzo gave up so many prospects, and I understand. But the bottom line is, the positive about the trade is that Eaton, you know, he's going to have a pretty good on-base percentage. He's going to steal some bases. He's going to play good outfield for you, and he can lead off. So you have him, and then you can put Turner in the 2 spot or flip-flop him, and you theoretically have good 2 table centers. Turner is a better shortstop than he is a center fielder, and Eaton can play center field. So you can make an argument that the Nationals fixed 2 positions with that trade. So